Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm Shelly from ZK Research, and I'm here in Anaheim with Shelly Kramer, fellow independent analyst at the WebexOne show. And although we're here in Anaheim at the home of Disney, this was no Mickey Mouse event. See what I did there?
It was no Mickey Mouse event.
So we are at WebexOne, as I said. Now, obviously, the big theme here, like the big theme is of every show,
everywhere,
is AI.
AI.
Right, and so Cisco made some AI announcements here. They actually made quite a few AI announcements that all fell under the wrapper of the Webex AI Assistant. And what did you think of that? There was a lot of functionality built into it. In fact, they could have probably done a whole keynote just on AI Assistant.
Yeah, I think that, we just had a kind of an analyst Q&A session with the senior leadership team, and G2 made the comment then that, this is an AI world. And as we're seeing from many technology companies and other brands, planting your flag in AI and making sure you're an AI first company is the path to success, path to growth, the path to success, that sort of thing. And so the team at Webex was very clear from leadership on down that this is the direction of the company. So again, not surprising because we're seeing that across the board with everyone. I think that what was really interesting was how they've sprinkled the AI functionality throughout every part of their offerings.
Yes.
And just listening to the functionality and the features makes you want to use it.
It does, yeah.
It's like, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Webex meeting platform, use it all the time. I'll start there with really some of the functionality in that they featured was, when you're having a meeting with a group of people and, I'm working remotely and the doorbell rings, so I have to get up and leave. There is, a little icon that'll come and slide over so you're not just looking at my empty chair. But what's really cool about it is that when you come back, you have the opportunity to catch up with what you missed.
And what I liked about that was it's not like I had to go look for it as a user.
No, it's right there.
It automatically popped up and said, you were away for 15 minutes, do you want a quick recap? Right, and to me, there's that expression of the best UI is no UI, right? And if there's any friction at all for the user, they're not going to use it. Right. But with this one, it just pops up and prompts you and says, do you want a recap? And so that makes that completely eliminates the barrier to entry versus if I had to actually go through the menu and say, catch me up.
Figure out how to use it and that sort of thing. And the other thing was cool. It was funny because one of our fellow analysts made the comment that with all this functionality, I never have to go to another meeting, right?
Yeah.
And one
I'll just have my AI attendant.
One of the features, though, is, the meeting summaries and beyond when you just have to pop out for a little bit, but a complete summary of and action items. This is what you indicated you were going to do. This is what and that's important because you're always forgetting what you're supposed to do.
Hey.
But I thought that was incredibly cool, and I think now we can pop over to Contact Center and the use of AI in the Contact Center.
By the way, the other part of it, though, I did like in the meetings was the summaries they give you. They give it to you in text, but they also give it to you as a video. And so instead of just giving you a text summary, I think they described it as almost like a movie preview. Where here's the visual summary of it. And so if you're a person that likes the video medium more, you can do that. I could see that even if you're, if you're traveling and you want to listen to it in your car versus having to read it. And so the different options are pretty interesting.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I didn't really catch as much on that. And I have a very real preference I prefer to read rather than watch video.
I hate reading.
But that's the whole point, is any kind of functionality that speaks to individual preferences is so key. I want to read because I'm a super fast reader, and to me, video slows me down. You want video because you don't know how to read. And
No, I'm just part of the YouTube.
He knows how to read.
I'm part of the YouTube generation, so the only thing I can read is YouTube descriptions.
I understand. I understand. All right, Contact Center AI.
Yeah, Contact Center AI, and what was the other interesting part of it, though, it's the same AI assistant that cuts across all their products and all their experiences, right? So if you know how to use the AI assistant in WebEx, you'll know how to use the one in the WebEx Contact Center. And that, again, different purposes, though, but if you're an agent, you can use it to get suggestions, you can use it to get next best action, you can use it as a training tool, right? A contact center administrator could look and ask it what went right with the call, what went wrong with the call, maybe get an aggregate. I think some of the interesting things too that AI is doing is they talked about the inferred CSAT, right? When you think about CSAT, how'd that happen? You do a call, it'd say if you hang on, we'll send you a survey. Nobody ever responded to those, unless they were really bad.
Right.
Right.
They were pissed off.
Yeah, and but now you can infer CSAT from every, from every call, and I think there is such a focus today on customer experience that AI can now be used. In fact, I think, Shelly, we'll get to the point where, you think of OpenTable, right? Remember when that first came around, people were like, well, why would you want to make a reservation through a web page instead of calling somebody? But now it's almost like if you don't have that web interface, it makes you upset. And I think we'll eventually get to the point where if I'm calling to check and see what time my flight is or check my bank balance or something, if I actually have to talk to somebody, I'll get annoyed.
I think we're already there.
Yeah.
I think we're already there.
So, but those bots don't work without AI. Right, and so I think Cisco's put a lot of work into making sure that it's being used for the right use cases, now allowing the agents to actually do the things that are more complicated.
You know what I think was interesting, Zeus, is that there were some growth numbers that were shared that we are not able to talk about, but suffice it to say that the growth that Cisco, that Webex has experienced in contact center is kind of off the charts.
Yeah, well, they've done a nice job, and they're leveraging their WebEx base, obviously.
Yeah.
And frankly,
and part of the strategy.
Yeah, with the contact center market is a little bit in shambles right now, right? With all the different vendors, a lot of them are trying to reset the on-prem ones, anyways. And so there is a big market opportunity to get this right.
Yeah. So obviously, Webex is laser focused on that.
Yeah.
It's great. And the contact center functionality is really incredibly impressive. And I think when we follow up this video with some articles kind of outlining some of how this works, I think you'll see. But really great, the whole premise here is, how irritated you get when you reach out to customer service and then they hand you off to somebody else and then you have to start all over again. And part of this AI helps, an agent immediately catch up, and here's everything that's happened, and here's suggested actions and suggested language to use and all of that sort of thing. So I think it's really, the whole point is to deliver better customer experiences. That's the whole point.
Yeah, in fact,
and better employee experiences, because retaining these contact center employees where there's high churn, because it's not a good job.
No.
In a lot of instances.
No, and I feel bad because we all get mad at the contact center agent, but it's not really their fault. It's the fact they got crappy tools. Yeah. In fact, my wife jokingly says she's never ever seen me mad in the time we've been together, except for the one time I had to call Comcast's contact center. And I was really mad that day. I remember that.
She did too.
Yeah, that was something. So now we are on WebEx, right? And so no WebEx event would be complete without devices, right? And they announced, I think, just one new device. Well, actually, there's a few. There's a room bar and a device. But I think the more interesting aspect of the devices are, first of all, they announced a formal partnership with NVIDIA, and which wasn't really new because they've actually been working with NVIDIA for a long time, but they announced it formally. And what I like about the WebEx devices is a lot of the capabilities that you might do in software, virtual backgrounds and noise reduction, they do on device, which makes it actually very easy to use it with other platforms, right?
Which is super important.
Yeah, it is super important. And I think one of the highlights of this event was that we had Ilya from Microsoft on stage with Sonora.
And how unusual is that? Microsoft and WebEx on the same stage.
Yeah.
Well,
they were in each other's keynotes at Enterprise Connect too, and so that is good. And it's interesting when you talk to both. I know when I talked to the folks at Worldwide Tech, they said they've been trying to push them in that way because they work with both.
Yeah.
Customers wanted them to work together, but they were like, we're not going to do that. But now they are, and I think a world where you're using WebEx devices in Microsoft Teams is better than using Teams without WebEx devices, because they really are best in class.
And what this is really about is serving the customer. Just like I prefer reading and you prefer video, this is, if you're a Teams user and you have Cisco devices, you want to be able to have that interoperability, and that's really super important.
So kudos to both of you for doing that.
Absolutely.
I know Cisco is, in fact, they purposely named the devices Cisco devices, not WebEx devices, to eliminate a lot of that, those capabilities. But I think the other aspect of the device that people don't fully understand is they are expensive, kind of, until you look at all the functionality built into them. They've got thousandized agents for troubleshooting. They've got a lot of environmental sensors built into it to measure temperature, heat, air quality, things like that. And so it's actually they could probably do a better job of explaining it, but it's a much different device than just a video monitor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think to make a connection between some of the data that's available and Control Hub, which is another really cool feature, I think, that WebEx offers. And not to completely distract this conversation, but one of the cool features of Control Hub is that you can ask it, what's my energy use? And so you can really stay on top of that sustainability factor. And I think that's something that people are more and more interested in.
Actually, I'm glad you brought up Control Hub, because I've always felt it's the underappreciated part of the WebEx portfolio. Customers tend to love it, the resellers love it, and even Microsoft will tell you one of the things they like about the WebEx interoperability is the customer can use Control Hub to manage the meeting rooms. Even pushing firmware updates is easy, and G2 said, I think he felt it was the best enterprise management console in not just in collab, but in all of tech. That might be pushing it, but it is, it certainly is very good. And I think
it's really impressive.
Yeah.
It really is. And you can have, a situation, I think one of the examples given was you can have a situation where you can say, Shelly and Zeus, we're doing this meeting and we noticed that, we blacked out, or glitched here. And so you can find where that equipment is malfunctioning from an administrator standpoint, and you can fix that so people don't have to go, oh, this is a crap conference room, you don't want to go in here, so I think that's really important.
All right, announcement 3, they announced an expansion of the partnership with Bang & Olufsen. They already had kind of an over-the-ear headset partnership, but now they get the in-ear ones. And I thought, it's kind of a prosumer type of thing, but it does bring a level of enterprise manageability, right, because now you can manage those devices through Control Hub as well. And they're very, very high quality devices. I mean, B&O makes the best devices in the industry, so.
Audio nuts will rejoice over this one. And I think too, this is another, I think, user preference. So from a personal standpoint, I do not like head
over the ear?
Yeah,
I don't like those
that.
either.
And I really don't care for headsets. For me, earbuds is where it's at. So again, that speaks to delivering a better user experience and being able to provide choice and that sort of thing. And B&O is
they're
premier.
They're about as premier as they get. So
although as we were walking over here, we were talking about this, and it would be great to add Apple AirPods to this family of devices that we support. I mean, you've already got Apple Watch, you've already got today, or
they announced Apple Watch,
but they announced Apple TV. WebEx will be available on Apple TV, the new one that's coming out, which I don't have. I guess maybe I need it, but we need the AirPods.
AirPod interoperability would be great. Was there anything else? They had some smaller announcements. I think those were the highlights.
I think those were the highlights,
Now, the one thing I will say about WebEx is when I talk to customers about who they're using, you hear a lot of Teams, you hear a lot of Zoom, and when I ask about WebEx, there is still this perception that WebEx is a stodgy old vendor. We tried it 5-6 years ago, and it didn't work very well. And I think that was true. It didn't work very well. In fact, it didn't work very well at the beginning of the pandemic, but they have caught up greatly in features, and I think there's a lot of cases where they're market leading, and now they're fighting perception. In fact, in the Q&A with the resellers, I think it was a person from Lumen that said, well, I think it's a perception issue. Well, perception's reality, and this is the reality they're fighting, is that WebEx is a kind of an older, stodgy brand. And so I'm not sure how they get over that. I guess it's one customer at a time. But this is not your father's WebEx. In fact, it's not your older brother's WebEx.
It's not your grandfather's, it's not your father. I've been a WebEx user since the very early days that this platform
when it was
came out.
passing the ball?
And I've always loved it. I mean, I loved it before it had the functionality that it had.
It had a few problems though. It had gotten kind of slow.
But they all do. They all do. Zoom has its issues, Teams has its issues, but it is a perception issue, and I think this is a marketing and messaging challenge. It is an ongoing PR challenge. I mean, it's all of that. It's that consumers are so familiar with Zoom And Zoom's, value prop is that it's mindlessly easy.
Although it's gotten more complicated.
It has, and there are some issues.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier in terms of some of the new functionality that Zoom has rolled out. If you don't know, if your administrator doesn't know about it, it doesn't know to activate it across the organization.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some challenges there that I think Zoom needs to speak to. And there are people who use Teams because of Microsoft's massive footprint across, the enterprise and the mid-market and everything else. And so I think that, when I am spending time with the team at Webex, and when I am listening to customer stories, and when I am looking at customer growth, and I am looking at new logos added and all that sort of thing, it's like, holy moly. Like, there are so many huge companies using this platform, whether it's contact center, whether it's messaging, whether it's, and that's part of the story I think that Webex needs to do.
I am curious to see what Teams does from here, because we were talking with Kevin Keeler and he is known as the Teams guy, right, in this industry, and he even admits that the new Teams has gotten so kludgy and so complicated that it's almost become unusable. And this is typical Microsoft, right? And then they'll decouple and they'll charge more for it. But I do think the Webex ease of use does give them an opportunity to bring Teams in, bring Webex in alongside Teams for a lot of those additional capabilities, and then maybe slowly chip away at that install base. But I do think there's no easy button for fix and perception, right?
No, there's not. But I think that part of what the team talked about in the last couple of days is their strategy is to use the existing customer base that they have and to land and expand and to really work to grow that market share. It is working. I mean, they were able to show us how it is working. Again, some of this is under NDA. And I think I will also say my message is that, if you're not familiar with Webex, if you haven't used it very much,
try it.
And so if somebody sends you a meeting request and your reaction is, Webex, whatever, use it, because it's really cool. It's really cool, and especially with this new functionality, I think it's going to be awesome. And I think there's really some great things to be excited about.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, any other thoughts?
All right, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we've done it.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess, in 2024 how much progress they've made on the perception issue. So on behalf of Shelly Kramer, I'm ZKast saying thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on another ZKast.